Hi, I'm Kent, and today we're going to talk about my favorite food-safe wood bowl finish. Okay, you might be wondering why I've got this mask on, and actually I'm done with this right now. What I just finished up doing was sanding a bunch of these small bowls that we're going to put the finish on. I sanded them through 320 grit. I started at 120, went to 120, 180, 240, and 320. Sanded them so they're nice and smooth. And now we're going to apply finish to them. So let me get those over here and we'll get set up. I like to put a drop cloth over my lathe when I'm applying finish just so I don't get it on it. It doesn't cause a big problem. Now, if you're curious too, the respirator I was just wearing that I always wear when I'm sanding is by 3M. I've got a link in the description below to where you can find that. I'll tell you, it's the best respirator I've found because it allows nothing in. What's interesting is some of the woods that you turn have a really distinct odor in that. You don't smell any of that through there. And it's one of the ways you know that you're not breathing in dust. Also, if you're fogging up your glasses and that, there's a good chance you're breathing in air and breathing in dust. So you really want a good respirator. That one's a great one. It's not really expensive, but it does a really good job. Now, some of the finishes that you can apply to wood can be really toxic, and you have to have a very well ventilated space, and you probably should be wearing a vapor respirator. That's one of the things I really like about this finish I'm going to show you. You don't need any of that because there's no toxic fumes, there's no negative ingredients in this finish that I use. So I'm going to bring the pieces over that we're going to apply finish to. I've got a variety of small bowls here. Now, these all have the tenon on them still. Part of the reason they have the tenon, or one of the reasons they have the tenon on, is we're going to come back and burnish these tomorrow after the finish has had a chance to cure. Let's pop this one off of here. Okay, so this finish that I really, really, really like is called Tried and True. This is a gallon container of it. I don't work from this big container because I don't want to make a mess everywhere. So what I do is I pour a small amount into a nice wide mouth jar, and I have a little piece of lint-free cloth. It's just a small little cut off of an old t-shirt that's in here that I use to apply that with. So take a little bit of this, apply it in there. Cost-wise, if you're going to use this a lot, the gallon size is very effective. I've got links in the description below for the different sizes of this if you want to take a look at those. Now, the coolest thing about this product is it is just simple, simple, simple. However, you do want to get the application just right. What I'm doing here is this little piece of cloth that sits in there. I'm actually using my fingers kind of like a squeegee to get all of the excess material off of it. You only need to apply enough to cover or make the wood appear as if it's been coated. That's all you need. You don't need a big thick layer, and you don't need excess. As a matter of fact, a big thick layer will actually hurt you. So what you want to do is you want to take your time, work this into the surface. Make sure all the areas are covered. When I first learned about this product, I kind of learned from some people that were basically just applying it and then rubbing it off, and then they were done with it. And it sort of works that way, and it does a good job because it's a good product overall. But if you apply the finish the way that I'm going to show you here, you're going to have much better results. So a thin layer is applied to the entire bowl. Okay, I'm going to set that one aside. Just use a small amount. Work it over all of the surface in a nice thin, even coat. And that's all you need. Now, this product is Tried and True Original. Original is linseed oil and beeswax. Tried and True has a couple other products. They have a Tried and True Danish oil, which is just linseed oil. And then they have a Tried and True varnish, which is linseed oil and pine resin. There are no other ingredients in this product. That's what makes it so great. There's no dryers, there's no metals, there's no harsh chemicals. There's nothing. There's no little secrets that are hiding somewhere that are going to cause problems for you. I have no problems with it in direct contact with my hands. Some people, it can dry out their hands, they say, but I find that it actually makes my hands feel better. It's almost like a lip balm. It's beeswax and linseed oil. It's pretty straightforward. So what I was getting at earlier with the respirator is you don't need a respirator. You don't even need to make sure this is applied in a well ventilated place. Now the only thing you do need to be careful with is it is an oil. The linseed oil is flammable, just like olive oil is, and basically any oil is flammable. So you want to make sure that any rags you use that have this product on it, you want to make sure that they are disposed of properly. The manufacturer recommends that you have a bucket of water around and just soak them in that water. That's going to prevent them from bursting into flames, I guess. I make sure that they get outside in our larger garbage can, that if something were to happen, it's not going to be in the house. You can see how easy this is to apply. Now the trick with it, there's basically 3 steps. The 3 steps that you want to follow when you apply this is, first, apply a very thin layer, just enough that you can see it on the surface of the wood. You can do this with any product, by the way, any wood product. This could be used for flooring, for other woodworking projects, for tabletops, for cutting boards, all sorts of things. And what you do is you apply this thin coat, let it sit for 1 hour. In 1 hour, we're going to come back and we're going to just buff off any thicker areas or any excess areas, but with a clean piece of cloth. And then we're going to let it sit 24 hours. After 24 hours, we're going to burnish it. And there's a real simple way to burnish it. That's why I leave the tenons on. I'm going to put them back into the chuck and turn the lathe on and use 4/0 steel wool. That's the one that's the 400 or the 4 zeros, 0000 steel wool, real fine steel wool. And just hold that up to the surface while it's rotating in the lathe. And the surface of this finish becomes just this really nice luster, kind of a glowing effect to it. And at that point, it's worked itself into the wood and is really protecting that wood very, very well. This, because there's beeswax in this as well, it has the ability to repel water. Now, it's not completely water resistant, but it will repel water, and it will make these very durable for a variety of uses. And the best part, of course, this is all food safe. You can have any food contact this. As a matter of fact, the crazy thing about it is technically this is edible. You just have linseed oil. Linseed oil is made up of flax seeds, and the beeswax is natural beeswax from bees. There are no other ingredients, so technically you could consume this. I don't think it's probably that tasty, but it's not going to hurt you. It's almost, I wouldn't say that it's food grade, but there's nothing in it that's going to adversely hurt you. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to put this back. I keep this sealed, and I keep it on my workbench, and I use it all the time, just like we're doing here. Now I'm going to leave these to sit for 1 hour. And then we're going to come back for stage 2. And stage 2 is we're going to wipe off any excess, and we'll go from there. Okay, it's been an hour, and now we're going to just wipe down these surfaces. We can see that that initial shine of the wet oil, or the wet tried and true original finish on them, is kind of diminished a little bit. That's good. You can tell that the wood is absorbing the tried and true. Now when you burnish these, or when you wipe these off, you want to look for any kind of thick spots and make sure we get all of those leveled off or removed. That's the whole purpose of wiping this off, so there's no excess thick areas on the surface. This is just a piece of old t-shirt. Set these aside. I'm just going to wipe this down real nice. Yeah, the tried and true original product with the linseed oil and beeswax is just phenomenal. It's a very simple, user-friendly wood finish that has such great qualities and characteristics. Okay, so any excess or thick areas have now been removed. So we have a nice even coat on here. And we're just going to let that cure up for 24 hours overnight. And then tomorrow I'm going to burnish these. I'll show you what that's like when we come back. Okay, it's been 24 hours. We're back in the shop. And now you can see how the tried and true original finish has worked its way into the wood surface. It's not as shiny as it was initially when it first went on, and we know that it's absorbing and getting soaked into the wood there and protecting the wood now. That's what we want. The next step is going to be to burnish these. So we're going to take these each one at a time and bring them over to the lathe and put them in the chuck and burnish them. Let's do that next. Okay, burnishing these pieces really couldn't be much simpler than this. What we're going to do is take a piece of 40 or 000 or 4/0 steel wool, and we're going to turn the lathe on slow and simply just hold it to the surface until it buffs it clean and burnishes that finish into the wood. You'll know it's working when you see a little bit of the excess finish on the steel wool. And you're getting a little bit of a shine, a little bit of kind of a luster from the wood surface. That's what you want. And that's it. Done. You see how beautiful that wood is. We have a nice dry surface. You can see a little bit of shine coming in here from that luster after you've burnished the finish. Now, the finish will continue to cure over the next several days, and it will just keep looking good like this for a long time. If for some reason, especially after use or after a long period of time, it starts looking a little dull, you can reapply this finish the same way we just did, or you can apply just the simple Danish oil, which is the linseed oil only without the beeswax, and just wipe that in. Again, real thin coat. Let it sit for about 10 minutes and wipe that off, and it'll rejuvenate that surface and make it look great. I'm going to grab another one of those bowls and we'll go ahead and burnish that as well. You can use the same pieces of steel wool, just kind of open it up a little bit so you get that area that's already been used kind of out of the way. Just pull it apart. Turn the lathe on. Watch up here, you can see as the surface starts to become burnished, you get a little bit more sheen to it after it's been burnished. I like this finish because it's just a real nice natural finish. It's not the kind of high gloss and kind of shiny in your face. That's a nice finish for some bowls, but not all. And I like the natural look of this. Tried and True is just a fantastic product. It takes a little time to put on, but it's well worth it. Okay, so to recap, the Tried and True original finish, which is made of linseed oil and beeswax, is fantastic because it's non-toxic, food safe, and water resistant. Also, it's super easy to apply. The biggest thing to keep in mind is, as far as the application, is to simply apply a very thin coat, just enough that you can see that it's on the wood. That's all you need. Let it sit for 1 hour, and then wipe everything off with a clean cloth. Then let it set overnight. And after it's set overnight, 24 hours, and then come back in with the steel wool and burnish it just like I'm doing right now. I'm going to go ahead and finish all of these. And if you're not already subscribing to my channel, please click the little red subscribe button below and click the bell. That way you'll get a notification when my new videos come out. And I've got a lot more planned for you. And if you like this video, click like as well. I would appreciate that. And I appreciate all your help. And as always, happy turning.